Hey there, back again for another week. I know I haven't been around for the last 2 weeks, but I've been busy. I've been extremely busy, from helping out friends and family to just completing goals that I've set aside for a while. So now I'm finally getting back into it, and pretty excited. So on the note of busyness, I've been busy taking action, and action is what I want to talk about today. To start with, to every action, there's always an equal reaction. And that was by Isaac Newton. Um, Action itself is one of the most important tools that we can use. For instance, we are all creators of our life and of the world around us, while action is our tool or paintbrush. So whenever we take action, we're putting our imprint on this world itself. And that can carry down through history, or it could just, maybe not make too much of a difference. But the fact is, every action we take has an equal reaction. And so if we ever want goals to happen, then we have to take action, no matter, how small the action is. You wouldn't even be born without action if you think about it. And I'm not talking about, you could get into sex and everything, but I'm saying just the instance of, say, your father making an action to contact your mother, and that ended up with you and your siblings, or just you, depending if you have siblings or not. So, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin at once, whether you are ready or not to put this plan into action. That was by Napoleon Hill. The reason I like that is because you can make plans all day, and you can spend hours making plans, but until you take an action in those plans, nothing will ever happen. Nothing will ever change. The only thing that will change is your perspective on that situation. If you want to go really far back, though, for action, and other examples would be like the caveman. Caveman wouldn't have discovered fire if it weren't for action. He might have had a thought in his head and said, hey, if I do this, then it'll, create fire. And I'm sure it was much more simplified than whatever I'm saying. But the fact is, if he didn't even take action, then the caveman wouldn't have fire in the first place. Whoever was the first, to create fire. Also, I wouldn't even have started this YouTube channel if it weren't for me taking action on my ideas of wanting to do a YouTube channel. The internet wouldn't even been created if it weren't for action. Someone had to take action at some point in order for the internet to even be a thing. So this whole situation of YouTube wouldn't exist without action. All the time spent making excuses that we can easily find, as opposed to creating and learning from mistakes. I mean, that's why action is so important, is that you could take time on creating action as opposed to not creating action and then regretting that you never did in the first place. What else? Another thing would be, just in general, action brings us closer to our dreams and desires. So, we can have fantasies all day of the dream life that we want, and the dream car, and the dream house, and every aspect that we can think of. But until we take action towards it, those are all just going to be dreams, just thoughts, or things that we, think are too far out of reach. So every small action we take towards it gets us closer to achieving those dreams and those goals. Anything is possible. If you really think about it, anything is possible. Nothing is impossible with action, but only with action. Because without taking action, then, nothing's really possible. I guess the other parts would be the application of knowledge is power. I got this from a great author named Josh Pelsier. Studied psychology for 20 years or so. And it's not the fact that knowledge is not power. Knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. So you can have a book, you can have a library of books with all different sorts of knowledge, but until you apply that knowledge and you take action towards it, then it's just going to be words and some paper, and that isn't really a big deal. To get to my last points would be, actions speak louder than words, but not nearly as often. That was just a quote by Mark Twain, which is funny, you can, like the whole saying, talk the talk, walk the walk kind of deal. You can talk all day, but until you actually show you take action towards it, nothing's going to be different. And that's why people that talk less and do more action end up getting better results. You know, because talking's not nearly as effective as taking action. So yeah, I looked up and I found some pretty good quotes on action. So I'll just say the last three ones. The dream becomes a goal when action is taken towards its achievement. That's by Bo Bennett. So, just like what I was saying earlier, you know, you can have dreams, but you can make those dreams into goals if you take action towards them. And as soon as you take action towards that dream, then it becomes a goal, and then it becomes achievable. It's possible. Achievement. And the last quote was, there are risks and costs to action, but they are far less than the long-range risks of comfortable inaction. And that was kind of like what I was saying earlier, that you're going to feel a lot worse not taking action on things when the opportunity arises, as opposed to taking action, you know, as soon as that opportunity arises. You'll feel much more comfortable, even if it doesn't go as you expected. Hey, at least you tried it out, and you can say that you tried, instead of hopelessly going on through the days knowing that you never took the chance when it was there. So the last thing is just that once you get started to take action, and if you're generally more of a procrastinator, me for instance, I've always, well, not always, but I've spent a lot of time procrastinating, and so I'm trying to get away from that kind of lifestyle. And the more that I take action, the more addictive it gets, because as soon as I take one action, then it leads on to the next thing. It's like creating a movie, my own personal movie. You know, I do this, this happens, so on and so forth. It's better than just being still and not letting anything happen. So that, I mean, really, that's what I want to get to today. Just jumping back into this whole channel with taking action. And I was busier the last few weeks, but I was busy taking action, just getting into that mindset. So yeah, I hope you take action today on maybe things that you might have put off. Anyhow, have a great day, and continue being a badass. See you next time.